Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about the first chapter of political science, power sharing. Before we learn what is power sharing and different types of power sharing, let us see two examples of two different countries. First, we are going to discuss about Belgium, a small country in Europe. Second case of Sri Lanka, our neighboring island country, Sri Lanka. And along with these two, we'll discuss about case of India as well, so we can understand power sharing in a better way. So let's see first case of Belgium. Belgium is a small country in Europe. In terms of area, it is smaller than state Haryana, and in terms of population of Belgium is about 1 crore, which is half than Haryana. But in this small country, ethnic composition is very complex. The question is, what is ethnic? Ethnic. Ethnic means a social group. Ethnic is a social group. Those who believe that descent, they descend from the same community. Maybe they are same in the physical appearance as well as in cultural way, but it is not required that they have the same nationality or religion. Basically, they are similar in the physical type or culturally or both. So, ethnic groups. Ethnic groups in Belgium. There are three ethnic groups. First, Dutch speakers. Second, French speakers. And third, German. Belgium is a small country which has a border with France, which has border with Germany, Netherlands, and a small country, Luxembourg. Now, Dutch people are consist 59% of total population in Belgium. That means Dutch as majority in Belgium. Dutch people live in Wallonia region, and second is French people. French people consist 40% of total population, and they are also called Wallon as they live in the Wallonia region. Remaining 1% is German people. Now, second complexity in Belgium is about the capital city of Belgium, Brussels. As we have seen, French minority in Belgium, and they live in, that means they are concentrated in region Wallonia, and Dutch in Flemish. Now about capital city Brussels, French are majority. They consist 80% of total population in Brussels, and Dutch people, those who are majority, they consist 20% only in the capital city Brussels. So here we have seen the ethnic composition in the Belgium. Now about French people, those French speaking community, they are relatively rich and powerful. And this was resented by the Dutch speaking community who got the benefit of economic development in Belgium. So this led conflict between these two community, Dutch and France, during decades of 1950s and 1960s. The tension between two communities was more acute in Brussels because in Brussels Dutch remained minority and French majority. So Dutch speaking people constituted majority in a country and in capital minority. So here is the ethnic composition of Belgium, Dutch majority, French minority in whole country, and 1% German as But in capital city, in Brazil, French as majority and Dutch minority. Okay. Now the second case of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island nation and actually our neighboring country, which has same social diversity like India. Not same, but actually somehow similar, because we also share many common customs with Sri Lanka. But ethnic composition, social diversity in Sri Lanka is different than India. Let's see social groups we refer as ethnic groups in Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka, major social groups are Sinhala speakers and Tamil speakers. So as same as in Belgium, where we have seen that ethnic groups are on the basis of language. They are linguistic groups. Same here in Sri Lanka, these groups are on the basis of language, linguistic groups. So Sinhala people and Tamil people. Sinhala people consist 74% of total population of Sri Lanka and Tamil speakers 18% of total population of Sri Lanka. Now, there is one more thing about Tamil, that Tamil has two subdivisions. Tamil has two subdivisions. That means there are two further categories in Tamil groups. So first Tamil, Sinhala Tamil, those who are natively Sri Lankan Tamil. So they are also called Sri Lankan Tamil. Second, Indian Tamil. Indian Tamil means those whose ancestors, forefathers migrated from India to Sri Lanka as plantation workers. Now about one more complexity in case of Sri Lanka. In the case of Sri Lanka, linguistic groups we have seen Sinhala and Tamil. Now one more additional features in these two groups is about religion. Sinhala people, most of them follow Buddhism, and Tamil, either they are Muslim or Hindu or minor are Christians too. So here situation we have seen that too much complexity in both of the countries, in case of Belgium, in case of Sri Lanka. Now situation is kind of tense in both of the countries, in Belgium as well as in Sri Lanka. Now let's see steps taken by both the governments. First let's see about Sri Lanka, what Sri Lankan government taken steps for the country, and then after Belgium. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948, after a year when India got independence. The leaders of Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. It is obvious, as 74% of Sinhala people, so it's more likely that government dominated by Sinhala representative. So democratically elected government adopted series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. Majoritarian, what is it? Majoritarian, that means decisions taken in favor of one community with disregard of other. So when government or when a country's government makes decision in favor of particular community with disregard of other community, with their rights, with their wishes, they disregard. So same things, same steps taken by Sri Lankan government we call majoritarian steps. Very first steps taken in 1956. an act was passed in the Parliament of Sri Lanka, and Sinhala declared the only official language of Sri Lanka. Disregard of Tamil, the only language Sinhala. Sinhala is the only official language of Sri Lanka. So here they didn't care about those Tamil people. Second, they use preferential policies. That means in government jobs, in university positions, in school as teachers. They preferred Sinhala people over Tamil. So more likely that Sinhala people got jobs and Tamil were not able to get jobs. More a new constitution that stipulated Buddhism, that protected by and fostered by the state. Here there is one more feature about these two communities as we have seen earlier. Sinhala, most of them follow Buddhism, while Tamil people, Muslim or Hindu. So as long as Sinhala people are Buddhist, most of them are Buddhist, they fostered Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So all these government measures coming one after another gradually increase that feeling of alienation of Tamil people in their country. They feel like they are not belong to Sri Lanka. They are from other country. They are just like guests in their own country. So they demanded gradually their rights. They began to demand their rights. Means they began to form their political organization, political parties, and series of movements were launched in Sri Lanka. So very first they demanded that Tamil language as an official language. They demand to recognize Tamil as an official language along with Sinhala language. Second, they wanted their equal rights as Sri Lankan government adopted preferential policy. They demanded equality, equal opportunity for all in education, in culture, in jobs. Moreover, many of the Tamil organizations were repeatedly demanded their separate province, their separate island, state, as those Tamil people concentrated in north and east part of Sri Lanka. So they demanded their separate state in their region, northeastern regions of Sri Lanka. But their all demands were repeatedly denied by Sri Lankan government. So gradually that distrust between two communities over the time increased. This led to conflict between two communities and ultimately it leads to the civil war in Sri Lanka. So what is civil war? Civil war is like violence between two communities within a country and which creates warlike situation in a country. So known as civil war. So because of civil war, thousands of people displaced, many became homeless, and thousands of people of both the communities were killed during the civil war. So violence broke out in Sri Lanka, which led to destruction. Now here, second case which we have seen earlier, Belgium. Let's see about the case of Belgium. Let's recall the ethnic composition in Belgium. Dutch speakers majority in Belgium, means in whole country, and French minority, 1% of German as well. More complexity in Belgium, in capital city of Brussels, 80% of French, those who are minority in Belgium, majority in Brussels, and Dutch people, those who are majority in whole country, minority 20% in Brazil. So government of Belgium over the time recognized due to tense in 1950s, 1960s. They assumed that situation of future in Belgium. So series of steps taken by Belgian government as well. Unlike Sri Lankan government, here positive steps taken by government. So they made changes, amendment in the constitution, series of amendment between 1970s and 1993. So they made various changes, a new law enacted, a new system imposed in the Belgium that is called model of Belgium or accommodation of Belgium. So let's see about Belgian accommodation or Belgian model of accommodation and their features. So first feature about Belgian model is equal representation given in central government. In spite of majority and minority, Dutch as majority and French as minority in whole country, equal representation granted in central government of Belgium. That means none of the community can make decision unilaterally. Decision they can make only if both the communities are agreed upon. So first problem is solved. Second, many powers of central government given to provincial government. In the region Flemish, the Dutch people are concentrated, and Wallonia, where French people are concentrated. So those provinces can make their own decisions. Some rights, some powers are given from central government to state government. So here those states, those provinces are no longer subordinate of central government, but they are became autonomous in certain area. That is second step. Third one, Brazil. As we have seen in Brazil, French as majority and Dutch as minority. So in like the whole country, like the central government in capital city Brazil to give an equal representation to both of the communities. In spite of French majority here and Dutch minority, both the community got equal representation by the constitution. So here we can see that first Dutch sacrificed their representation in whole country, and second French people sacrificed in Brazil. Now the next step, last step taken by the Belgian government, that apart from central government and provincial government, one new kind of government that initiated by Belgium, which is community government. Now community government got powers over the particular community, and they are elected by people, those who belong to particular community. That means from Dutch, from French, as well as from German. So no matter where they live in the country, in the Belgium, but community government got the powers and responsibility regarding culture, education, and language related issues. So this Belgian model seems little complicated, but here people, those who live in country today, they are they live in peace, they live in harmony, and the country is prosperous today, unlike Sri Lanka, which is burning today occasionally. So here they avoided conflict. Belgian people avoided conflict, and they established peace and harmony in the nation, and they maintained their diversity, their ethnic diversity in the country. So because of this special model of Belgium, European Union, popularly called EU, which is social and economical union of 28 countries of Europe, they decided Belgium's capital, Brussels, as capital of European Union, as headquarter of European Union. So Parliament of European Union located in Brussels. So here we have seen cases of Belgium and Sri Lanka, and series of steps taken by government of both the countries. Next topic is why power sharing is desirable. By this case, we can see that Belgium adopted power sharing and Sri Lanka used majoritarian. So by these two cases we can understand why power sharing is necessary. In next module we will learn about power sharing, why necessary.